I am now on the place where you can get personalised videos from all of your favourite celebrities, content creators and podcasters like me. If there is someone you want a personalised message for, a personalised shout out, a birthday message or just something funny, search for Darren Rees Football for Kids on the Cameo app now.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
At Great Wolf Lodge, there's adventure for the whole family. You and your pack can splash away in the indoor water park where it's always 84 degrees. There's a wave pool, a lazy river, and a bunch of massive water slides, including ones your family can all enjoy together. They even have adventure-packed attractions, from the Northern Lights Arcade to delicious dining, and you can't miss the nightly family dance parties. With 23 lodges across the country, you're always only a short drive away from adventure. So bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com, greatwolf.com, and strengthen the pack.
This triple parter on Kylian Mbappé took me about 30 hours to make in total, and it was initially just released on Patreon and on Apple Podcast subscription about 4 months ago. There are a lot of hours which go into making this podcast, and it's people who support the show on Patreon and on Apple who enable me to have the time to keep on making it. There are loads of exclusive episodes on both Patreon and on Apple, and to gain access to all that stuff and ad-free listening and loads of other stuff, it costs less than a cup of coffee a month. So adults, if you are able to, please consider supporting the show on one of those places. You can cancel it whenever you want to. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. It's time to continue the journey of Kylian Mbappé. This is episode 2 of this very special Patreon and Apple Podcast subscription 3-parter special. So, Kylian Mbappé would join PSG. They would put up something like 185 million euros for him. Mbappé was a PSG player, and to say that the fans were excited was a bit of an understatement. In the very first season that Kylian Mbappé was playing for PSG, he was sensational. The goals, the passes, the short balls, the long balls, the assists, the nutmegs, the rainbow flicks. Mbappé had it all, and he was flaunting it to the fans of the club. PSG went on to win the league that year, and Mbappé, without doubt, was an enormous part of them doing so. That was in 2017. The following year would be the World Cup in Russia, and Mbappé wanted to make sure that he would be there without any questions asked whatsoever. Kylian Mbappé made it into the squad. He was still a teenager. He was still a youngster in comparison to the other players who were in that team and in that changing room. The France manager was asked whether he was worried about Mbappé and him being too young. He made it very clear that age was not a thing. It was about talent, drive, ability, and a genuine desire to win. Mbappé was trusted from the get-go in the World Cup. France beat Australia 2-1, and the first game was already under his belt. Rewinding a moment, because the fact that Mbappé was at a World Cup playing for France at 19 years old is very special. But what you really need to consider and understand is the unwavering amount of self-belief that he had as a youngster about him playing for France in the World Cup and becoming world champion. He told his mum and dad multiple times, "One day I will be a World Cup winner." Mbappé could see his future. He believed in it, and he knew with hard work, dedication, and giving it 110% effort in everything he did, every single day, would get him to the place he most wanted and needed to be. So, Mbappé had one game under his belt in the World Cup tournament. He scored his first World Cup goal against Peru, and then there was a game against Argentina in the last 16, which was one of the great World Cup games from over the years. Mbappé was up for it. He was going for it, and it's a match which would be Kylian Mbappé versus Lionel Messi. Kylian, from just outside of the box, his end of the pitch, got the ball and then put his foot down to accelerate up the pitch with tremendous speed. People had not seen somebody move so fast with a ball in their lives. Defenders frantically trying to catch him up, but failing miserably. He gets into the box, but eventually is taken down. But he wins France a penalty in the process. The match was end to end. There were 7 goals in total. France 4, Argentina 3. Mbappé scored 2 incredible goals and became a talking point from that moment on. The hype was real. Mbappé was a proper superstar in the making. France made it to the final, and in that final they would play Croatia. A game which would turn out to be a thriller, and a game that Mbappé made history in as he scored a screamer from outside the box and became the first teenager to score in a World Cup final since the great Pelé. 2 people are in that club, Pelé and Mbappé. France were World Cup winners once again. Just over 20 years since they'd won it the first time. Around 2 decades after the footballing baby Mbappé was born. France were champions, and Mbappé was a humongous part of them doing it. After they won that final and Mbappé lifted that World Cup trophy, he received a message from Pelé, which simply said, "Welcome to the club." What a message to get. The World Cup final was over, and again there were parties on the streets in every town, every city in the country. Mbappé, almost immediately after the tournament, jumped on a plane and went to his hometown of Bondy. The place where he grew up, the place where he lived and called home. He wanted to share that moment with his people, the people of the place which he knows best. Thousands and thousands of people would come out to get a glimpse of him. One of only 2 players to ever score in a World Cup final as a teenager. Mbappé was a proper hero. Where Mbappé is from in Bondy, there is a painting of him on the side of an enormous building. Painting is him as a kid with an AS Bondy football shirt on, sleeping with his head on a football. The painting shows him dreaming of playing for France in a World Cup final. Now, he was there as the winner of the most prestigious trophy, not just in football, but in sport. If that isn't a reminder of chasing your dreams, then I don't know what is. In the following season after the World Cup, Mbappé and his teammates won the French top division twice. And then, before you knew it, there was another major football tournament. Kylian Mbappé and his French teammates would make it to the last 16 in the Euros. They were very much expected to win the tournament. They had the players, they had the team, which meant a lot of people really did expect some big things of them and really did expect them to win it. The last 16 was a game against Switzerland. It was yet another thriller. This one ended 3-3. It went to a penalty shootout, and Switzerland had scored their penalties. And then there was one final penalty to be taken. If it went in, it would go to sudden death. And if it was to be missed, then France would go crashing out of the Euros. Mbappé was the player to take that penalty. He stepped up to the spot. He looked at the ball. He looked at the keeper. He smashed it, and the keeper got a hand to it and saved it. France went out. Sadly, although there are millions and millions of lovely, supportive and genuine people in the world, there are some people who are the opposite. These were the people who were giving Mbappé a hard time and made his life very difficult, all because he was the one who ended up missing that final penalty. And that is where we'll leave part 2. But join me on part 3 as we go from the 2020 Euros tournament to the current day in this very special 3-part episode on Kylian Mbappé. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.